Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So this is an interesting talk. It's a talk on Jupiter, and the theme is actually exploring the developmental theme that's starting right now as Jupiter begins to move direct. Because this direct motion is, while it looks like, okay, it's moving direct in Sagittarius, and then at the end of this year, it'll enter Capricorn. In this direct motion, it's not going to go retrograde again until it's at 27 degrees Capricorn next year. So it's basically starting now, moving forward. I mean, it's like in a week, in the middle-ish of August 11th, it begins moving forward. And on this new journey forward, on this pilgrimage, it'll reach the mountain of Capricorn and climb to the very top, 27 degrees. Where it'll then begin a new retrograde journey towards the latter parts of Capricorn. With Pluto and Saturn, it's going to be like epic. And so usually when we think of planetary cycles, and usually when we make a hoopla out of planetary movements, we'll do it when it enters a new sign, like Jupiter entering Sag or Saturn entering Capricorn. But very seldom do we recognize the significance of when a planet moves direct, especially when in that direct motion, in that cycle of moving direct, it'll actually enter the next sign. Because while there'll be an experience of at some point you're in Sagittarius city and you'll enter Capricorn city, when you begin the journey, when you actually get in your car and start driving, that's a significant turning point. So very soon, Jupiter is metaphorically putting on its boots and getting ready for this new journey, which will culminate at the very end of Capricorn. So I just want to first offer that point of view. We can actually look in our own charts. I think this is a fascinating and really fun thing to do. To not just take for granted, okay, you have natal Jupiter in whatever sign and house it's in, to actually consider where is it on its journey. There are a few stations to consider, and I want to start off by presenting this context. This is true with every planet. Let's use Jupiter. Jupiter begins moving direct, and it will reach a certain point and begin going backwards. And at a certain point in its retrograde movement, it'll return to a degree that it passed 11 months prior. Right, so in this recent experience, Jupiter in January passed 14 degrees Sagittarius. 7 months later, at 24 degrees Sag, Jupiter began going retrograde. And right now, Jupiter is beginning, I'm sorry, did I say 7 months later? 7 months later, after going retrograde, Jupiter is now returning to 14 degrees Sagittarius. So it's 7 months, not 11 months, 7 months where Jupiter will pass the point, go somewhere else and return to that point. And then add 4 more months, it'll return back to where it began going retrograde. So from, in this case, 14 degrees to 24 degrees, back and forth, 11 months. So we can think of your own Jupiter planet. You see where it is, whether it's direct or retrograde, you can think, was it direct moving towards retrograde, meaning it'll actually go back to the degree it was at your birth, after your birth? Or is your Jupiter direct once it's now going direct and it's not going to go back to where it was? So it's the pre-retrograde direct or the post-retrograde direct? Or if your Jupiter is retrograde, you can ask those same questions. Is it just beginning its retrograde or is it ending its retrograde? Is it going to go all the way back to where it was several months after your birth? Or is it just stopping when you were born and it's going to pass over it really quickly? These are fascinating things to consider, and understanding this is pretty intuitive. We don't actually have to think very hard to consider or comprehend what these things represent. When Jupiter, and really any planet, crosses a point for the first time that it will later return to use Jupiter for this talk, this represents on the journey, on the pilgrimage of expanding our consciousness and deepening our understanding of reality and our place in reality, we're beginning to receive intuitive insights and being synchronistically guided towards an experience in life that will unravel a deeper understanding of who we are and what we're here for. There will be a lot of forward momentum, a lot of new discoveries, a lot of new journeys, but a very potent sense of this is new. There's a lot that I don't understand. There's a lot that's unfolding here, and I have to give it time and space for it to reveal itself to me. Because 7 months later, after Jupiter goes retrograde, it'll return to that same degree. And when that happens, well, let's go back. Then it goes retrograde. And that retrogradation is, and we've talked about this in a prior Zoom meeting, a slowing down, a reconnecting to, okay, I was experiencing life in a certain way, and now there's sort of like a mental schism. My understanding and my comprehension doesn't necessarily adequately meet the reality that's currently manifesting. And it really requires me to drop my beliefs and my expectations and my projections of what's supposed to be, of what I think is happening, and to develop my intuition. And when Jupiter begins to go retrograde, as we've all recently experienced, it's really a time of not necessarily having a map, but really feeling into the dark. And when it goes back to the degree it passed 7 months prior, there is a culmination that happens. The entire 7-month journey and all the lessons, all the things that we've been developing and coming to understand, there is an integration and a reaping of insight that occurs at this time. So I'm going to show you these charts to exemplify what I'm talking about in recent transits. Okay. So here is Jupiter in January, cross the degree, 14 degrees, which is where it is right now. So where Jupiter is right now, it was already there in January. We often don't think of that. I mean, this is encompassing an entire developmental theme in all of our lives. What was beginning to emerge globally and collectively, that's when in the United States, for example, the Democratic candidates just began announcing their run for presidency. That was in my life where I was beginning to turn my attention towards completing my van and getting back onto working my album. There was a sense of something beginning, something starting, but if you can feel into your own lives back then, there was by no means a clear sense of definition in terms of momentum and direction. And so then we continue on, and then in April, Jupiter began going retrograde at 24 degrees. This is where, and mind you, at this time it was moving retrograde towards the square to Neptune, which was also beginning to shift directions as well. So that particular vibe was a big curveball. Jupiter retrograde, okay. I've gone as far as I've gone, and now I need to reevaluate. I need to check my understanding and create more space inside of myself to learn about life, to learn about my place in life, to learn about where nature, where reality is actually wanting to unfold and take me. And boom, August 11th, here we are in June time, Jupiter returns. So the energy right now is like, okay, there's some sort of synthesis happening, and we can all feel that in our lives. It is by no means a crystallized, clarified certainty, but the energy right now archetypally says, okay, It is time to move forward with the insights that you've gained, with the things that you've come to learn. Now it's time to begin to consciously manifest what you've come to learn and understand in your own life. When it comes to manifesting what we learned in Jupiter, it's always about applying the principles of truth. Like, we have an insight, we have a realization about ourselves. The work with Jupiter is manifesting that insight in how we live our lives, and that's called authenticity. So for example, I just got back from a trip, returned to my van after not being in it for 7 days, which was the first time in the whole year that I've never been in my van at all. So it was very exciting, and I got back in my van. It was nighttime, it was warm because I have great insulation. All of the curtains were closed, and it smelled like wood, which I don't always feel because I'm always in it. So I don't always notice the smell and how good it feels in here. And I took out my toilet and I used my toilet, and I was just filled with so much joy, because this for me was the experience of landing in a sense of, this is authentically me. This is me living my truth. And there was no ideology. There's no belief system about it. It was just like, oh, this is so true for me. And we all know that feeling. It's true when we feel like it's true, whether it's something we're saying, something we're doing, or a way of experiencing relationship, where maybe we didn't expect it. Maybe it's contrary to what we thought our life should be or how we should be. But when we land upon truth, there's an accompanied sense of rightness. There's an accompanied sense of relaxation, and thus freedom and spaciousness. Because when we land upon truth, truth always says, you are always and only what you are. And it validates what we are. And it's like, oh, this is my nature. This is who I am. This is what is. So right now, there's a profound invitation. This is the work for us. To become familiar, to start to steep and explore and examine our truth. Because this is a momentum that's going to ride, that's going to blossom as Jupiter continues to make its way back to the point that it went retrograde at. 24 degrees in November. That's where it was in April when it went retrograde. That's another integration point. You can think of from now, August, until November, Jupiter is completing the same number of degrees it went retrograde over. But now it's going direct. So if retrograde's unwinding, unraveling, deconditioning, the direct is now integrating, resolving, clarifying, cultivating insight and knowledge and wisdom relative to where we were unraveling and undoing our existing understanding of things. So we can really look to this time for the next several months as gleaning and cultivating more insight. And before I move on to the next part of this talk, which is the summit of Mount Capricorn, which is really exciting, I want to share a little meditation with everyone here and for all those who are listening. So if you'd like, and this will be just a minute or two, I invite everyone to just drop in and relax for a few moments. I'm going to start this meditation with a little bit of toning, and I'll end it with a little bit of toning. And for this minute or two,
Please.
What's that? Someone's mute. Someone's mute is off. Oh, I hear a baby too. For this minute or two, I invite everyone to drop into a space of not thinking about it, not looking for it, but becoming curious about your truth. What is your personal culture? What is your personal way? What is your way of being in this world that is authentic to you? And don't look for a specific answer. Allow the remembering and the feeling of it in the same way that when I sat on my toilet, it was a sense of authenticity. we will give ourselves the space to experience what is authentically ourselves. And I'll just say this first. Ironically, I find this can be unnecessarily confusing and unnecessarily difficult, because when we try to look, when we try to find ourselves, when we try to find what's authentic, we immediately go towards concepts and ideas and beliefs and things we've already thought about. And so the invitation here is to not even do that, to actually explore and inquire into, what don't I even need to figure out to know what's just true about me? So we'll sit for a minute and I'll just do a little bit of sounding to ground the vibration, and I'll see you on the other end. And so, whether or not you feel that there is any sense of recognition, you might find that what's authentic right now is very, very similar to where your natal Jupiter is placed and to where Jupiter is currently transiting in your chart. Because your natal Jupiter is the ruler of transiting Jupiter. It's in Sagittarius. So for me, when I just drop in, there's a sense of excitement and expansion in what I can do as a teacher. I'm like, oh, there's like this like potential and all this possibility. Sagittarius, it's in my third house. So I'm going to be teaching a class series starting this week on the online platform. And there's this strong feeling of what else is there, what wants to come through right now. I have Jupiter in the fourth house. And I notice that there's a strong calling for me to focus on family. I'm going to be having a child soon. And I'm looking for a home. And when I think of a home, it's like, wow, where's a home? What's a home? How do I know where a home is? And I think about making more money to support my family. It's like, well, what do I do? And the practice for me, I have Jupiter in the 4th house on my IC in Sagittarius. It's not about trying to think about where's home, what would it look like, but it's noticing home. Noticing what home is, right? Sitting on my toilet. That's like a little piece right there. Like, oh, that's the feeling of home. The warmth, the coziness, and the sense of intimacy and connection that I share with people that I love and care about. That's home. So when I drop in, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's so much for me to offer. And there's a sense too as connecting with people, family. Who are the people that I love? Who do I want to live with? What does it feel like to be at home? Again, the trick with our Jupiter and with the transiting of Jupiter is to not try to apply an existing belief system and idea. And so during this time, as Jupiter moves, I can stop this share here. As Jupiter moves through these last degrees to where it was when it last went retrograde, there is a blossoming and growing space to have a direct, intuitive experience of what is really authentically relevant for us. Now, when we look at this in context with a larger unfolding of the cosmos, remember, so Jupiter is now going direct. It's a new journey. We can both think of this as it's completing the retrograde by going back to where it was, but it's also starting on a new journey, and it's going to go far beyond that retrograde point. It's going to go beyond 24 degrees Sag and well and deep into Capricorn. Jupiter is literally going to move 44 degrees until it goes retrograde again. That's like getting in your car in New Jersey and driving to Mount Shasta. That's like a huge journey. So that's what's starting to happen right now. Thus, we're gearing up for a journey to really integrate a deeper level of self-responsibility and embodiment. So let's first look at the charts, and I'll speak about what this journey represents. Oh, wait. Yeah. Do it again. Okay. So it returns to where it was in Sag in November, and then in December it enters Capricorn. And I don't have that listed, but it pretty much immediately goes to the South Node. It just zooms through Capricorn. And in February of 2020, Jupiter will be at 17 degrees Capricorn. That's an important point because that's the degree that Jupiter will retrograde back to later in the year. So that's like you're climbing the Capricorn mountain, and then 17 degrees is like a particular juncture along the path that you're gonna like be doing a lot of work around. You're gonna come back to the place with a lot more wisdom. And in May, it retrogrades. It goes past freaking Pluto. All right, so you're climbing this mountain, you encounter like the Pluto person. You have that experience. You're like, oh, here's a Pluto thing. And I'm gonna keep on climbing. But we're gonna go back to Pluto twice after this. All right, and by September, it's back at 17 degrees. And then in December, it goes back to where it went retrograde and it crosses Pluto for the last time. And Saturn will be back in Capricorn by then. That's just a basic context for the transit that's happening next year. And let me speak about what all this means. When we look at the transition from Jupiter to Capricorn, we're looking at the cultivation of insight and awareness and wisdom, and manifesting that, learning to apply the principles of truth in our life, which means learning how to live authentically, learning how to live sincerely, cultivating direct experience of reality and letting that shape our understanding. And when we're really in the Sag world, there's an understanding that nature is responsive, synchronicity is responsive. We're learning and discovering ourselves along the way. We don't have to figure out how the next piece will come. A good traveler has no fixed plans. That's the teaching here with Sagittarius. But we learn to become self-aware. And when we enter Capricorn, it's a very new dimension. Now we're in cardinal Earth. Now it's time to do something about what we've learned. It's not just being the free spirit, sage, seeker, rainbow person that lives in a van and, you know, is in this perpetual sense that they're on a journey and that every day is a pilgrimage. That's very Jupiterian, very Sagittarius, which is cool. Capricorn is like, you have responsibilities now. You are given a role. Capricorn corresponds to how consciousness within human form creates conditions and parameters for itself to become embodied, to play out and manifest its evolutionary intentions. And we set up a structural reality, including the family lineage we come from. We all come from a structural reality. We are all conditioned by a structural reality. And we're learning how to consciously participate with physical time, space, and reality in a way that serves our own growth and evolution. So in Capricorn, we're really becoming aware of, there is a purpose for my life. I am given a mandate. I have a responsibility to fulfill. Thus, we learn the idea of ethic. And on a more gross level of consciousness, ethics are these external standards that say, this is right, this is wrong. And so Jupiter and Capricorn can very easily be these judgments of absolute right, absolute moral, ethical, spiritual, religious, social judgments of right and wrong. On a more subtle, sophisticated understanding, the ethics that we cultivate resonate with being in alignment. And when we're in alignment, we respect and honor the sovereignty of each moment, of each being. We understand the natural principles of energy exchange. We understand the natural ways that the earth moves. We learn how to respect the structural reality of nature. We learn how to respect the structural reality of our body, the nature of our body, the nature of our relationships. We become attuned to, we become wizened by studying and learning how life operates, how do things grow, how do things build. And so we learn to suppress ourselves, we learn to discipline ourselves. And if we're really taking this time right now, and I'm freakingly deeply excited for this possibility, because I've walked a path of practicing and cultivating many practices along the journey. But the one thing that's never consistently stuck in an authentic way is a practice and a structural reality where it feels like I'm on. I haven't really wanted to. You know, I do enough sessions to get by. I do enough teaching to support myself. It's never been a calling for me to really like focus my energy, to take it to the next level, as if I had this responsibility to do something in this world. But having a family calls me into that. I would not have considered and thought about the things I'm currently thinking about if I didn't have this calling right now to support my family that's coming. And so for me, what this is doing is it's bringing me into alignment. And this is something that's going to be happening for all of us, and we might be sensing it coming right now. What are the responsibilities that come with your own life? When we're a child, literally, metaphorically, we don't have responsibility. And so there's no real calling or need to discipline and structure our lives. So there's no wisdom. There isn't the adequate self-knowledge that will require us, that will impel us to discipline and cultivate structure and alignment to become a clear vessel and container to strengthen our life as we need to be and do what we are here to be. if we try to apply that level of discipline without a core sense of purpose, it would be like putting a lot of pressure on a weak structure. It wouldn't stand. It would just be forced. It would be repressive. It wouldn't last. And yet, when we have a sense of purpose, when we are connected to directly a sense of duty, a sense of responsibility, what some might say right work, what some might call your dharma, when that awakens in us, it births a deeper gravity of seriousness and what's a Capricorn key phrase? That. Like really looking, really getting somber, really introspecting. Because we have to tune into, what do I need to do now? How can I make this work better? How can I more fully accept upon myself this mandate to be what I'm here to be in this life? So as we walk this Sagittarius journey, the pieces will fill in. And any work we do right now to more deeply connect with our own intuition and our sense of what our life wants to be, let it really call us. We're paving a path for ourselves where we can come unto a clarified relationship to self-responsibility and purpose. And there's no joking around with these transits. Jupiter will go on the south node in Capricorn, which itself can be really cleansing and healing in bringing up karmic dynamics around negating self-responsibility. And what does Jupiter do? Jupiter is a magnifying glass. It helps us see, it expands our awareness. So it can actually expand or exaggerate circumstances in our life, temporarily blowing them up, which then gives us the gift of seeing things clearly as they are, which helps us understand, okay, this is what I got to work on. That can be one expression of it. It could also be promotions or opportunities to further in the path that you've already been cultivating. And then Pluto moves over Jupiter. Jupiter moves over Pluto in Capricorn, at the very end of Capricorn, just as Saturn finished Capricorn and entered Aquarius for the first time. And this is happening in 2020. It's such an intense energy. So to imagine that where you are in your life then is not necessarily what you can imagine it will be now. And if you allow yourself to be the pilgrimage, you will learn, because this Pluto-Jupiter connection, and it's going to pass over 3 times throughout all of 2020, is basically saying we have to be willing to let our understanding go. We have to be willing to sacrifice our stronghold upon the world we think we're supposed to be living, so that our soul directive can actually reveal to us, to itself, the life it is here to live. There is a quality of courage and faith, die-hard faith, Pluto-Jupiter, that said, okay, even if the task is difficult, I'm excited, Jupiter. I'm down for it. And our meditation, our silence, our time connecting with what's true, our time being quiet and free from an existing answer, will always reveal to us an inner knowing that will be our navigating, guiding force. I was listening to a beautiful teaching by Adyashanti recently, and he just offered this beautiful suggestion to someone, and he said to him, you know, what's true? Just it was like a difficult relationship situation. He asked him to just connect with what's true. You know, not about the situation, just what's fundamentally true in your heart. What do you always know to be true? And if we can grasp, if that's not too conceptual, just as a meditation, if that's not too conceptual, there's always the possibility, and I hope we can hear this. This is something I'm often reminding myself. It's simple and profound. There's always the possibility to reconnect with what's true, because what's true doesn't go away. it's simple, but the challenge of it is that it's simple. And to go there is sort of the self-reminder, the permission to look again right now and to reconnect. The answers are never, ever lost to us. They're never outside. Nor are the answers like, I figured it out. That's not what an answer is. The answer is always this present moment. And the truth is always about permission. The truth is always safe. It's not always comfortable. So this is my presentation. This is my perspective on this journey of Jupiter moving direct now and preparing to mount this Capricorn mountain. At this point, let me check the time. So yeah, I want to open up to questions. And if anyone wants to share anything at all that is inspired within to share. And if you want to take a look at your chart, we can kind of tune into these dynamics, kind of feel into the developmental theme. So go ahead.
Ari Moshe?
Yes.
I've been having my Jupiter return for a while now. My natal Jupiter is at 22 Sag. And I don't know, sorry?
I was going to ask Linda, I was going to ask you, Carolyn, can we look at your chart?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Linda's on it.
Not my face, but my chart, sure.
Which one's more intimate? That's the question.
Oh, I don't know.
Are they any different? Yes.
I'm not even going there.
What were you sharing?
Okay. So my natal Jupiter is 22 Sag.
Yes.
And so I'm having a Jupiter return in my 9th. And I just, especially, you wouldn't know it from me talking tonight, but especially the last few days, I've been feeling joy like I haven't since I was in a classroom interacting with kids. 2015 was the last time, I guess. And joy for no reason, and easy to meditate, and just expansive in joy. Now that degree of joy is quite recent, but certainly my view of life has been far less depressed and just getting better all the time. Again, as I say, external circumstances aren't changing.
Yeah.
I just feel very different.
That's great. Wonderful. And to see this is happening as Jupiter is moving direct and it's trining your Pluto in the 4th. So there's a sense of optimism and empowerment that can sort of naturally bubble up with that aspect as well.
Interesting.
And that'd be cool to watch, for you to watch that as Jupiter forms an exact trine later maybe next month actually, but it'll be moving really slow. So Jupiter's moving really slowly. So this trine to your Pluto is actually this like really laser focused period where it's like trining for like 6 weeks or something like that, within like 2 degrees. So that'd be cool for you to just, explore that a little bit. Let me just tune into this for a moment for you. So I'm going to share a couple thoughts that arise here that speak to the theme that I've been bringing forth. And feel free to jump in at any moment, Carolyn. Jupiter's coming back into your 9th house. And yeah, there's totally a sense of expansion and optimism that can come with that. And the intention around that is a sense of, okay, for you literally in the 9th house, there's a sense of I'm here to, there's a journey of discovery, of awakening that is really impelling me, that's really calling me. And so this is quite literally, you're going on a pilgrimage. Your Jupiter squares your moon. It's also opposite your Uranus, the Virgo moon in the 6th house. To me, this really speaks about cultivating your skills as a healer, as a teacher, and
Yes.
sharing yourself more. There's something that wants to really be refined and cultivated to bring out, because that's a part of what this is all about for you. It's, you have so much to share.
Yeah.
So also your Jupiter trines your Venus, and that in your 5th house. So I love that you mentioned how it felt when you were with the classroom of people. 'Cause that's right, you know, working with children, being in a creative, playful state where you are leading and facilitating. But here's the piece here. Jupiter's moving into Capricorn. It's going to cross your midheaven. Your midheaven is Capricorn. It's ruled,
14.
and it's ruled by Saturn, which is in Virgo in the 5th house, which is in a balsamic conjunction with Venus. So
Ah.
this summit, this journey, right? Jupiter's going to kind of zoom through your 9th house and go right into your 10th. It's going to go about, like, you know, more than 10 degrees, like 13 degrees into your 10th house. And then it's going to go backwards. Actually, it's not even going to go backwards into your night, this is a 14 degree, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even going to go back into your 9th. So this is significant. It's zooming through your 9th house. But once it passes 14 degrees, which will be in the first few months of 2020, it ain't going back. So this is a movement towards your Capricorn 10th house, specific to your Saturn in Virgo in the 5th, which also squares your Chiron, and that is also trining your North Node. So there's something here in you doing this training, this learning, this apprenticeship, and really focusing on this spiritual blossoming that is calling you, however that is for you. And so that there is more confidence and clarity about your role, right? And what's that role? 5th house. You're here to create.
Yep.
And create what? Well, create beauty. Leo in your 5th house, ruled by the sun, and with Neptune, inspiration. I mean, like, I don't know much about you. We've only had a few interactions, but are you also a musician?
I have a piano. I don't play well. I realized when I was 68 that I have attention deficit. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't. I taught kids for 20 years who are attention deficit, but okay. So I'm a wannabe musician. I am a musician. When I sit at my piano, I love it, but I can't stay there long. So I'm not a musician like you. I'm not.
Well, let me tell you a little something about this. The only thing that makes me the kind of musician that I am is I don't have a concept of what that means. So I don't
Okay.
read notes. And for whatever reason, I had that sense my whole life to sit by a piano and just play because it was fun and a cathartic, deeply cathartic. So I just want to offer this perspective to you, just to offer that your capacity for service and what wants to come through you is always greater than what your self-image projects. And you know that about yourself. You know that tendency to hold back, right? And so just to remember that there is harmony and beauty and grace. And Pluto, Neptune, Sun in Libra in the 6th, that is, I'm sorry, you have more skill than you are admitting. Simple. You're hiding it to yourself because you're comparing Libra to standards, Virgo, 6th house, that you think you're supposed to be. I want to bless this period of being one of heart opening to realizing the perfection of what you are and what you've been given, that you have what you need. And also, if you don't mind, if you're not embarrassed by this, just like the blessing for you and the honor and acknowledgement to you with this, you know, Venus, Saturn, that in recognizing that you are and you have what you need, that there's a deep landing in enoughness. And I think that is a part of your dharma, that, like, realizing that, because enoughness and beauty are the same thing. Like, enoughness carries the vibration of, like, content, whole, complete, and so we can appreciate it. And so to really feel and appreciate your beauty, to not have a condition around it. And I feel like that's a part of what wants to be shared, what wants to be offered to others as a healer, as a guide, as a teacher, as one that is inspiring. So I'm very curious to see how that will unfold for you, and the insights that will continue to come on this journey as Jupiter moves direct.
That's such a gift, what you've said, Ari Moshe.
Mm.
I'm getting frisson all over my scalp and all over my body. It's
You're getting what?
frisson, shivers.
Oh, okay, good. As long as it shivers. As long as, I hope I wasn't giving you a transmutable disease or something like that. So that's getting herpes.
That's yeah. No, frisson is a word English people use in Quebec too. It's not English, but it's one of those things. And to me, it
Cool.
just means that sometimes it's past life. It's just true.
I
What you're
understand.
saying is so true.
I understand. Yeah. I completely understand. Thank you, Carolyn.
I
Always a pleasure.
appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so did we have another question? I bet Linda knows.
She's getting the charts.
Okay. Hey, Wendy.
Hey. That's not my chart. Is that my chart? No.
Not what I remember.
No. I think that's the other lady that just asked. She's getting it.
Okay.
That is my chart. Okay, Linda's making another chart, so I guess I'm going next. Hey, Ari.
Hey.
Wow, congratulations. I'm excited for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Wow, so I watched the debates last night and the night before, and I don't know, Mars is on my sun right now, so I'm really feeling inspired by that. But I'm feeling Capricorn, my moon's 24 Capricorn, and Pluto's already been really close. And of course, the South Node passed, and Saturn's coming, and I just did, and Jupiter's right squaring between my Uranus and Pluto, right? It's at 14. Sag squaring that Virgo, and it's going to be squaring my Saturn again, and crossing all that, or squaring all the Pisces Virgo. And I got invited to do this monthly podcast with a woman who I've known for a long time. She's got a huge following, she's reverend and studied with Michael Beckwith, and she's really right relationship conscious, really, really connected, and is a really fabulous opportunity. And so she posted the podcast yesterday, and I freaked out inside. I was like, I can't listen to it. I'm too scared. I all this fear, right? And I have this big hiding signature, right? I have a lot of Neptune Pisces. And so anyway, so I'm doing it. And, I had this judgment in my head that was like, hate the way my voice sounds. Other people can tell that you're nervous, all this external, all this judgment, all this projection, all this fear. And then I was like, Wendy, it's a snapshot in time. Mm-hmm. It's not who you are. It's just this thing. So what? You're going to have another one, and then there'll be another creation and another creation. And I even realized when I listened to it that I had broken this guy's anonymity from this 12-step program.
Oh.
So I reached out to him, and I was, and he's out there anyway. He's got a big show, and but I sent him this message, and I was like, this is what happened, blah blah blah. He's like, not a big deal, Wendy, But I was thinking other people listening to that might go, oh, she's, so all this intense judgment. And I feel like I'm having this, I'm able to see all this and go, you know what? It doesn't matter. And I just listened to Russell Brand interviewing Marianne Williamson, which was unbelievably fabulous. I can't wait to listen to it again. And calling out basically the spiritual community to participate more in a more conscious way about democracy. And I don't know, I feel like I'm growing up. And I'm going to be 54 next week, 50 freaking 4. I used to be 36, it seemed like just the other day. And what am I saying? I'm just saying that after listening to her too, she said something like, who am I to hold all this down when whatever I'm doing could be helping someone else? It's not about my ego, right? And I think that I have a very weak ego fear, right? It's that Damien soul, that weakness. Like, I have to grow my ego, a healthy ego, more. So I think that's about it. I feel like I'm going to have like this coming out party in a bigger way. And finally, and yeah, I have these books. I have like 3 manuscripts, and who knows when they'll be done, but it's all being cultivated. And actually, I started a GoFundMe page for one of these oracle cards that I've had sitting. A friend of mine said to me, look, Wendy, this lady, she had these oracle cards. She created a GoFundMe page for $33,000. She got $100,000. She had a producer and the artist, and they got all this money. And everyone that donated, she, as each card came forward, she sent them the card, and I don't know, whatever, it's like, I have all these creative ideas, and I've been sitting on it for a long, long time. Anyway, I could cry right now, but feels good. It feels good. It's like breaking the silence.
I want to share a couple of reflections on this.
Okay.
I so get what you're saying. This idea of your ego structure. First, your moon is semi-square to your south node. It's a 2-degree orb. And it's in Capricorn in the 8th house, ruled by Saturn in Pisces in the 10th, squaring the nodes. Like, it's so clear that this Capricorn moon reflects for you, like, actually empowering yourself to Marianne Williamson has the same moon, Capricorn in the 8th house.
I saw that last night.
It's cultivating that sense of strength in your soul, Capricorn 8th house, to be solid as an identity on a level of empowerment that can't be shaken. So it's like it's developing an ego structure that's impermeable. And the whole karmic piece here is totally coming out of hiding. Saturn squaring the nodes in Pisces in the 10th. And that's ruled by Neptune in the 5th. It is a coming out party. It's like Wendy's personal, like, here I am, world. And I think like the main karmic piece here is it's like, I'm allowed. It's such a great example of integrating Capricorn from this place of shame, where it's like, it's not okay for me to take up time and space, for me to really inhabit time and space, because inhabiting, being intentional, is a bad thing. It causes pain. There's something like wrong about it. To really be working with 10th house, structure, form, business, but as a soul.
Right.
It's really beautiful to see it. So I would say Jupiter moving into your 8th house it's gonna, again, for you, let's see, what's your 8th house cusp? I can't, 21 degrees?
It's 20. It's about 20, 21. Yeah, 21.
Okay, so it will dip a little bit into your 7th after it goes into your 8th. But it's going to cross your moon 3 times during this period in your 8th house with Pluto there. So this is really about walking the Sagittarius journey and moving through your 7th house. It's going to zoom through your 7th house. New business connections, new relationships, new ways of socializing yourself in the world that expresses your authority and sense of what you've been building for many years, what you've been cultivating, the wisdom and knowledge and skill and the actual products, inner and outer, that you've been developing. So that's exciting to see that all happening.
Yeah, and that the moon in conjuncts my Jupiter exactly.
Yeah. Oh, cool. And can everyone see with both of the examples, both Carolyn and Wendy, how there's a quality right now of it being new, right? There's a sense of like things aren't formed yet because Jupiter is just going direct. There's a sense of there's a journey we're going to be walking now. And we can really feel that in our charts. What is the house that Jupiter is about to zoom right through? This is where there's going to be a lot of new activity and insight and growth. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know how much time we have, Linda.
It's open-ended. There's no...
It's open-ended, so I'm gonna decide then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep this more or less an hour, so maybe we can look at one more chart.
Okay.
And then we'll bring it to a close.
Okay, well, we have Monica, Kate, and Sarah, so we'll go with Monica because she was first.
Okay.
Can you give me a moment, please, just to... I've got the chart,
Absolutely.
I just need to add it to this document. Won't be long.
So since we have a whole bunch of volunteers, this is a great opportunity for me to let you know about what I'm doing. I'm teaching, and there are a maximum 10. I might be open, but really there's 5 spots open still. I'm teaching a 6-week class series starting this Saturday. And for those on YouTube, I'm going to be teaching this again. I'm going to be doing this a lot of times. And it's basically what we're doing right now. Each week, we'll look at 2 or 3 charts of participants, but we'll prepare each week by the participants engaging in a forum that I set up just for the group, where they'll share their charts, their bio, any questions, so you really look inside and tune into what wants to be explored. And I interact with the individual, but the whole group gets to spend time like reading about that person and listening to them, asking questions. We have their chart ahead of time. And as a group, we learn and we ask questions, we engage. And the intention simply is to create us a learning environment where we learn more about the soul through direct human connection. We learn about the chart through the soul reality underlying the chart as a way to understand the chart. So definitely consider joining me. I'll post the website. It's on my website. It's a teachable site, Ari M. Wolfe, teachable. I'm not sure how to publicize it. That's a long URL. But anyway, get in touch if you want to join. And if not now, I will be offering this hopefully again next year. Okay, Monica. Are you there? Monica?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so
Good.
much for all your work. I'm very excited about to be here.
You're welcome.
So I don't know how to say this, but I had like a complete reboot of the way I used to identify myself until probably around my birthday, when Pluto and Saturn and the South Node conjuncted. I had a complete crisis over the way I was like being incoherent with my life. That's the way I felt. And in the last 2 months, I very slowly went through all my possessions. I labeled every single thing. I posted online and I sold 90% of my stuff. I don't want to identify with my prior life because it had a lot of relationship with my last marriage that I just kind of like did not realize that it was taking so much weight over me. You know, I'm looking forward, but there was so much stuff around me that reminded me of the situation. And I also, in the last year, I'm an artist. I do a lot of work, public art, but I also study astrology with Simon Foster like 2 years ago. And I do readings sometimes. And so astrology has opened up a lot of things for me. So instead of feeling very much defined in a way, how this society is allowing us to define ourselves in categories, I just felt like I had to break the chains of categorization. And I've been in the last 2 years sort of like allowing all these crazy little bits of myself like arise and be integrated. So I'm in that process, and it's incredible. I was very, very scared. I was very, very scared of showing the world who I am. I sort of like came outside of the closet, of spiritual closet. The realm where I work, it's very intellectual and people are very constrained and they're very judgmental. And I was very afraid of losing the way I make money. I can have a very comfortable living with what I do, but I was very scared of showing them who I was. But I did it. I'm open to it. And it was more about the fear than what really happened, because I realized with the fear was that I was afraid of something horrible was going to happen. But then I realized that the fear was not about what was going to happen. It was that I didn't know what I was going to do when that happened. So
Right.
with meditating,
Yeah.
yes. So that was the big insight. It's like, all I have to do is to be serene, be equanimous, and be in the moment. And then whatever happens, the big monster comes, I'll know how to deal with it. So it helped me, editing, everything helped me to realize that's where I am right now.
Thank you for sharing. So I want to offer just a couple of reflections on this. So Jupiter moving through Sag in your 11th house, liberating from the need to fit into anything and finding your own natural, authentic self. And that Jupiter in Taurus conjunct your sun in the 3rd house is very tactile, very creative, very sensual. It's very much, and also about self-reliance. Like, you need to feel like I'm in my body, I'm engaging creatively in the world in my own authentic way. Relative to Jupiter ruling your 11th house, there is that deep invitation for internalization to say, okay, I need to own and claim my own world on my own terms, my own mental self-reliance. Mental self-sufficiency, what I know, who I know myself to be, what I have is enough. I don't need to clutter. Taurus can be clutter with all kinds of things that actually distract me, also Taurus, complicate my senses with all kinds of things that aren't indigenous to who I am. So Jupiter in Taurus is like, when I think of Jupiter in Taurus, I think of Winnie the Pooh. It's like simple and so wise in that simpleness. And of course you have Capricorn on the South Node in Capricorn in the 11th house. And so this, with ruled by Saturn in Pisces in the 1st house, this has a lot to do with your soul liberating from social judgments, conditioning, group thinking, expectations of belonging, not belonging. And I love what you said about the fear of the unknown. It's not really about the unknown, it's your identity. It's you think you need to do something and be something, that the unknown defines who you are, but you're actually free from that. And so there's this liberation from the structure. I think one of the words you used was freeing yourself from definition. Definition is Capricorn. Freeing yourself is 11th house. To not be defined means the insecurity of not belonging, not having a place, which means you're defining the structure and your role in life, Capricorn, Saturn, according to your own soul individuality. There's no context for you. 11th house is no context. And all this also means forgiveness. It also means a permission to connect with anger and rage and repressed emotions that you haven't felt safe to express, or that haven't been able to express, or that you felt shame or uncertainty about expressing. Saturn and Pisces in the 1st house ruling that dissociative 11th house Capricorn South Node. There's actually this permission to actually embody and connect with a visceral human experience that has been on some level checked or cut off. And there's also a dynamic of healing the relationship to the violent masculine energy, Saturn in the 1st house, to which Pisces, there's been a sense of vulnerability and not feeling safe, not feeling protected. Neptune in the 10th house ruling that. There's a theme here of the Saturn Pisces energies coming together. Saturn and Pisces, Neptune in the 10th, in Scorpio nonetheless. For you to feel safe and supported by like your heavenly father, so to speak, by life, it's like to feel like you're safe.
So
and that
safety.
Life is actually parenting you and holding you. Like there's safety. You're not going to be left in a world where there's like a child that their hand isn't being held when they cross the street. There's something that you are coming into in this sense of, and that Cancer North Node is like, I'm loved, I'm held, I can play, I can be joyful. So kudos to you. And
thank you. Yeah, I lost my father when I was 8. So everything that I like directed my life was trying to feel that sense of safety, of somebody protecting me, and I never felt protected. And I recently found that the only thing that I can do in order to protect myself is to take care of what I need, of my essential needs. You know, that Chiron on the 2nd was like, boom, like the last 4 years was like, finally I got it. Like I have to take care of myself. And I'm very happy where I am. I'm super excited about what's coming. I am joyous. You know, somebody said about having that feeling of like, I feel really, for the first time, I feel myself. This is
awesome.
it.
Great.
So I'm very, very happy. Thank you so much, Ari. I really love your work.
You're so welcome. And I just want to just offer to this, just to speak to, like, Saturn's going to be moving into your 12th house in this summiting period, you know, crossing your south node. It's not going to go back. It's going to stay in your 12th house. It's going to be solid in your 12th house. So to me, this really speaks to a period of resting. What you're establishing now, you get to allow your own soul, you get to allow spirit to define the structure of your life. And I think this is really a time of healing and forgiveness and accessing deeper places that you didn't have the space to access before. So yeah, I'm actually really, with all that strong energy in Capricorn happening in your 12th house, and then Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, it just feels like this is a very mystical opening for you. I'm curious, and then what you get to give and what wants to emerge from that. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. We will complete today's class here. So I'm Ari Moshe Wolfe. My website is arimoshe.com. I'm available for personal sessions all the time. And again, I have this class series. You can check out my website events page or contact me directly to learn more about this one or upcoming classes, events. And I released a 3-song EP. Maybe I should sing to close it. Yeah, I'll sing, and then we'll close it. I have 3 songs that I released. It's a prelude to an album that will have at least 11 songs on it that will be released later this year. So I'm going to share one song with you all. We'll see which one, and then we'll say goodbye. I know guitar doesn't always come out well on this thing. How's the guitar sound? Is it wonky?
No, it's good. It's good.
Okay, cool. Okay, let me just take a moment to see what song. All right, this is the one. I am an empty vessel. I am pure and holy. I am a secret temple. Life is a ceremony. I am an empty vessel. I am pure and holy. I am a secret temple. Life is a ceremony. Dum da dee 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 dee. Dum da dee 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 dee. Dum da dee 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 dee. Dum da dee 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 dee. I sing, I write, and I refine this instrument of light. I dance, I play, and I say thank you every day. I sing, I write, and I refine this instrument of light. I dance, I play, I share my love in every way. Dum da dee 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 dee. Dum da dee 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 dee. Dum da dee 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 dee. dum da dee 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 dee. Ah ho ho.
Beautiful. Would you all please thank Ari Moshe Wolfe, everyone?
Thank you, Ari. That was beautiful.
Thank you. So good to be with you all.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you, Ari.
Good
Bye.
night, everyone.
Thank you, Ari. You're so great.